We're going to look at how to set up requisitions today. So the first thing you're going to do is go under the inventory area of Thrive. And the requisitions is going to be where primarily people use requisitions. This is where somebody will submit a requisition. This is where you'll approve it. And that's where you'll manage your requisitions. But to get started, you want to set up two setup areas. The first one is requisition accounts. So you'll come in here to requisition accounts, and whatever these are for your company, you'll put them in. So you can associate them with a department in Thrive if you want. Otherwise, you'd load your account numbers and you give it a description. After you've set up your accounts, the next thing you're going to do is the requisition approval routing. And so this is the process that you have for approvals. When you come in here, you're going to hit new and you'll fill out this information. So it's associating it with a dollar amount as well as a routing sequence. You don't have to use the routing sequence. You can just do dollars. There's a few 4 bullets here that'll give you some helpful hints as you're setting this up. And then you'll tie it to a routing list. And this would be if you have different types of approvals based upon a commodity or some other criteria within your company. So you'll set up these routing lists. You can have many of them or just a few. If you leave it blank, it's going to be a default. So if you have no routing list, it'll default to um, whatever the blank one is. So you always want to have one blank. That way, if somebody doesn't pick something, um, or you want to make that field required so they have to pick a routing list. But this is where you're going to have your routing approval set up. Once you've done that, you can now use the requisition area solely. So that's your setup area. Now this is where people are going to put in a request. So you might have a role where the person can only see new and it looks like this and they're just a submitter. So they're coming in and filling out whatever information you have on your form or you choose to turn on for your form. This is the requisition routing list that we had mentioned. You can see safety purchases is in here. And this is where you'd come in and fill out your initial kind of high level requisition information. We'll go look at one that's already filled out and approved so that you can get an idea. So here's one that's already approved and been closed. But once you've set up the initial stuff, which is what we were just looking at that point that was the ship to and the vendor info. Now you're coming in and you're adding line items. So you'd come in, this one doesn't have the add button on because it's closed, but you come in and hit add, and this is where you'd fill out as many line items as you want on your requisition. So you're picking a part number out of the system, it's pulling the description, you're choosing how many you want and the dollar amount associated with it, and that's what's going to trigger your routing approval. So you'll then see that, up here my total PO is going to be for $115, and in this case of example, it got routed. It was routed to, this is on our demo system, but it got routed to these two demo names. And then as they go through the routing process, you can see it was approved by that person on that date, and then it goes to the next person. And so an email will automatically go when one person approves it. It gets routed via email to the next person. They click a link and it takes them right to this area where they then would go in and approve or deny it. So that's how the requisition routing will go. A couple other features just to show you when you're in one. We'll go open one that's not approved now. So maybe we have a requisition that's coming through. It's unapproved, like this one that we just opened is. And I might have questions, and that's where this discussion feature can come into play. So I can come in and hit a discussion, and this is going to allow me to converse with somebody. So I could type in somebody else that's on my team that is in the system, and I might pick them, and or I can get rid of people by clicking them out. And once these conversations go, you can have as many as you want, but you can start a new one. And you can type in information, wondering about this, whatever it might be, and sending it. And then what's going to happen is that's going to go to whoever's part of your conversation email, and they'll get a note back and forth. And this keeps all of your decision process tracked within the requisition. So in the future, if you're wondering, I thought we talked about this before I ordered it, and we think we emailed each other. Well, this will allow a place for us to converse and keep a log really of our decision process. So that's what the discussion feature is within requisitions. And then these are print features, so you can print this requisition. You can email it, so it'll pull it up in an email already in a PDF, and you can send it to a vendor or you can send it to somebody in particular. If we go back to the list of all of our requisitions, a couple other things just to show you. Same thing here. I can go through and click a bunch of these at one time and do something to them. So this is where if I want to print or email multiple, I could do that. Another feature that's in here, and this is similar in all areas of Thrive, but if I just want to see my unapproved requisitions, for instance, I can toggle those and say, here's ones that I, need to stay on top of or look at. You can filter, do your save searches, change your column layouts. All of that is the same as in other areas. You can see the little symbols here and what they mean, whether it's denied or an approved one or it's still in routing. So a few features, those are all pretty consistent across all of Thrive, but just want to give you an overview today of requisitions.